hello everybody again. We're back here again at the Greenville Senior High School, home of the Greenville Green Wave, IMTV, Wave Channel 5. I'm Mike Maloney with the Greenville Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library, and we're at our 10th episode. We're so excited and very happy. We have a very distinguished guest today. We're going to get right to him because I don't have any crazy announcements or anything like that. It's Judge Dennis Adkins from Montgomery County Court. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Please tell us about yourself, sir.
Sure. I'm a judge in Montgomery County Common Pleas Court. Before that, I was a practicing attorney before I was appointed to the bench several years ago. And before that, I was a police officer. I'm a resident of Montgomery County and was born and raised in Kettering, graduated from Fairmont East High School. A few years ago, I came up with an ideal that we need to do something for our veterans who become involved in the criminal justice system. The reason for that is we were finding out on the national level that our young men and women who were going and fighting our recent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were doing something that has never been seen in this country before, and that they were having multiple deployments. I've seen some individuals that had gone over there 5, 6, 7, 8 times and have returned, which is totally different than any other wars that we fought here in the United States. At the most, back in World War II, Vietnam, maybe 1, maybe 2 deployments, and that was it. The other thing that we're finding, reporting from families and spouses and other members, that these men and women coming back were different. They changed. In every deployment, they changed more. And a lot of them were able to cope. Some of them got counseling on their own, but others could not cope with the problems that they saw in the war, and they ended up in the criminal justice system. Some of the problems that they developed that we're dealing with is post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of them have TBI, which is traumatic brain injury from the explosions along the roadway in combat. Some of them developed aggression problems, alcohol and substance abuse problems. And when they came back, they just weren't able to cope with coming back into their communities, and they ended up in the criminal justice system. So we are trying to take those individuals, get the treatment that they need based upon their military attitudes that they had, and deal with them to try to patch them up, get them back into society, get them back with their families, and that's what the program was designed to do.
But Judge, so is it diversion and counseling, or what is it?
Well, it's a combination. They can come into the program on various ways. One of them is a diversion program. We have an intervention in lieu of conviction program where they can enter the program. They enter a provisional plea of guilty, but if they complete the program successfully, then their charge can be dismissed. They also come into the program after they are convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor, and some of them come directly into the program. Some of them are on what we call regular probation and have problems. They can't cope with the regular conditions of probation, so they come into our program. We also have the possibility of taking someone, and I have 1 or 2 of these that have gone to prison, and they've been released early, and they've been released back into my program. This program is a very intensive program. It's not like someone being put on regular probation. It's a much difficult, much harder program than regular probation. It's very structured.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. Has it grown at all? Has other counties picked up on this at all?
It has. Well, our program itself, we spent about a year developing, getting it up and running, and we had our first docket in December of 2013 is when we started the program. We started with 6 individuals. We are now, the last count I think, we've had 98 go through the program, and we've had 16 that's completely graduated from the program.
That's great. And where did you go to school, sir?
Fairmont East High School.
Fairmont East.
Back when East and West was split.
Fairmont East, okay. And how long have you been serving on the bench, sir?
I was appointed in 2011 and reelected in 2014.
Now what I really want to get to is what you're doing with the cemetery. Please tell us all about that.
Okay.
Well, as part of my being involved with the veterans and the Veterans Treatment Court, I got involved with other aspects of the veterans, and I discovered something that was very disturbing to me at our Dayton National Cemetery in Dayton, Ohio. It was brought to my attention that in that year that I was looking, in 2013, there were 60 veterans that were buried at the Dayton National Cemetery that had no representative there to receive the American flag. And people that are familiar with military funerals, there's the folding of the flag and the presentment of the flag to the surviving family member. But there were 60 during that year that there was no one there to receive that. And I thought that was just appalling. And because even if you have no one that can be at the funeral because there isn't anyone, or they can't travel, or because of financial reasons, there ought to be someone there recognizing that individual. So myself and a couple of other veterans got together and formed what we call the Final Salute Society. This is a volunteer organization where we make sure that there is someone there at the gravesite to receive the American flag in the honor of the veteran who is buried. This has grown tremendously since we began it. We began in 2014, and we have tremendous support from the Ohio Patriot Guard. They are there. They stand at attention with their flags when the individual is brought to the committal shuttle.
Now, who is that now? Ohio Patriot Guard?
Patriot Guard are veterans who have formed a motorcycle group. And they actually came about several years ago. There were protesters that would come to funerals and try to disrupt funerals of fallen veterans. And this organization,
yes. What is it? Okay.
So they got together and said, we're going to make sure that they get the dignity and the honor that they deserve. That's one of the functions, but it's an organization of veterans from all wars to get together and just enjoy the getting together and riding their motorcycles. So they are there. They also were part of my Veterans Treatment Court. They come to every graduation. They stand at attention.
Really?
And they're just there to show that they have the veterans' backs. You know, when they get done, there's someone there that they can go to. So they've helped us. Also, the other organization that has participated in the Final Salute Society has been the Blue Star Mothers. And Blue Star Mothers are those parents who have either their sons or daughters or spouses serving actively in the military. They're an organization that supplies packages to them and raise money to help the troops overseas. So they've been very active in the organization. We're a big supporter of the Veterans Treatment Court, and they come out too as members of the Final Salute Society. So it is something that we started, and it's been very, very successful.
Right. So you started in 2014.
Yes.
How many do you do now? Do you know?
There's probably, I would say, about an average of 50 a year that we attend, and it doesn't matter what the weather is. There is somebody there always to receive the American flag.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you guys work through with the funeral homes too, and I know that there's different rules for, I guess, different types of veterans, like retirees. You can get a service component there, right, or and stuff like that.
You can, and that kind of takes me to the next point. After we had the Final Salute set up, I discovered another staggering statistic out there. And at the same time, I was approached and asked if I would be the chairman of the Cemetery Support Committee. And the Support Committee helps with financial endeavors of the National Museum or National Cemetery to help them raise funds to do projects that the federal government can't fund or doesn't fund. And so we're a support arm of the cemetery. And during that period of time, I found out also that only about 10%, or at that time, only about 10% of the veterans buried at the National Cemetery were receiving full military honors. Now, when you asked a general person that's not probably a veteran family, when they think of someone who served their country and they're getting a military funeral, that it includes, people in uniform, the folding of the flag, the playing of taps, and the rifle salute, or what's commonly referred to as a 21-gun salute. Well, that's not necessarily true. A military funeral only designates 2 individuals coming down from the Department of Defense, the folding of the flag and the playing of taps. It does not mean that they received the 21-gun salute. So only about 10% of the individuals buried there received full military honors, which would include that. And again, I thought that was pretty disgusting because you served your country, you deserve the full military honors. So I got together with the cemetery director at the time to talk about forming an internal honor squad to perform at these funerals for everybody. And we worked very hard, got volunteers, because it's an all-volunteer project. And we started the program and dedicated our honor squad on Memorial Day of last year. So they've been up and running since Memorial Day of 2015. And I'm happy to say that since that period of time we formed them, there has not been any veteran buried at the National Cemetery without full military honors. Not only the ones that have family members, but at the final salute funerals as well. Even when there's not anybody there, they are receiving the full military honors. And that's based upon the help of the cemetery, the volunteers that are part of this program. They dedicate their time. And this is truly a volunteer organization because there is no federal funding for this whatsoever. The cemetery cannot pay for it. So all the funds for what they do, except for the rifles and ammos, which are supplied, but the vans that they need, their uniforms, any supplies that they need, all has to be donated. So there's been great support from the community for this program. And I think it's just a great thing for the whole community to make sure that everyone has full military honors when they're buried.
Right, it's awesome, Judge. It's just awesome that you do this. And it's been done, and everybody does that. You need volunteers still?
Yes, we do.
The way I understand it is you like somebody says, I can do it on Fridays, and if the call out is on Friday, the Friday people go out, right?
That's correct. We have a squad, and we're trying, we don't have enough people to get to this point yet, but we want to have a squad for each day. And we're almost there, but we're not quite there. And we need volunteers to come out. And even if you can just do 1 day a week, 1 day a month, whatever you can do, it's very important that we get volunteers to come out and do this. We'll give you the training. You're certified by the DOD when you come out. We have trainers come down. You're trained in the operation of the firearm because a lot of the guys, it's been probably a long time since they fired a firearm. So they're trained, and we go through the drills, and they understand what's going on. And I've seen a great camaraderie develop among the volunteers that are doing this. And we've been very blessed with having a van donated by the Vols Auto Network, and it's a beautiful van that they use because they're staged at the guard shack there at the cemetery, and they have to drive to the committal service every day. And then Amerimark uniforms donated the uniforms, the first set. We have to buy them from here on out. That's why we need funding. But they do anywhere from 1 funeral up to sometimes 5, 6 funerals a day at the cemetery. There's about 1,000 interments a year, and they're there at every one, with the exception that the only one who has a full military capability is the Air Force in our area because of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So if there's an Air Force active military or a retired military who has had a career, they'll come out and perform the services. Other than that, there isn't anyone who comes out and do it except the Honor Squad.
Right, right. Well, that's good. And we've talked about you need volunteers.
Yes.
I know that, that this is how I met you. At least I saw you at the 3rd District meeting.
Yes.
Talking, trying to get funds from the VFW Ohio charities. And I know other people have given that. What do you still need? You still need funding?
We definitely need funding. as we add individuals, we have a cost of a uniform.
Right.
One of the biggest concerns that we have that we barely got this when the cold weather started, but we needed winter uniforms. We started this squad without any winter gear whatsoever,
Right.
with the hope and the prayer that come the fall and the cold weather, we would have the funding to do that. Right. When it came time to have to buy the winter jackets, the gloves, the hat, and raincoats, we were very blessed that the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission stepped forward and donated money to help us with the initial purchase of the jackets. In fact, it was so close. There was, I remember one morning that they were doing it, and it was raining, and I was standing at the uniform place waiting for them to sew the patches onto the raincoat so I could run them out to them before they went out and stood. So, but we're constantly needing uniforms. As we add people, we need them. And also, they get worn a lot. When you're doing funerals every day, 5 days a week, and you're out there a lot, they can get worn, so we need to replace them. We hope also, come the summer, that we will go to a summer wear or short sleeve shirts, which we don't have. So there's going to be that purchase. We have not been able to purchase certain items for the individuals, such as boots. They're just too expensive, and we haven't raised the money for that, so the guys are supplying their own. But there's also a need for incidentals. Like we have a guard shack down there, but sometimes they're there for several hours during the day.
Right.
And so there's a need for them to eat and,
Right.
have coffee.
I was just going to say that. They should have some food too.
Well, and we
'Cause I
have...
know we feed ours every time
Right.
there's free food.
Military runs on its stomach, right?
Yeah,
That's what they used to say.
absolutely.
But we have a nice facility. For those that are familiar with the cemetery, there's a guard shack that sits right on the corner of 3rd and Gettysburg, which is the oldest standing building in the entire VA complex, including the VA hospital. And that's their post that they use. So they've converted it. It has air-conditioned heating in it and the facility. So that's the staging area for them. And then they leave from there to go to the committal services. So if they're there for a long extended period of time, obviously they need things. We need training materials. We have to purchase donation envelopes because when we have a funeral, we don't press this that there's any requirement of donation. And I want to emphasize that. Doesn't care who you are or what you are, it doesn't cost a dime at the National Cemetery to receive the full military honors. If someone wants to make a donation, if a loved one wants to make it, they certainly are welcome to do so. We have some envelopes that we do. We're putting together a pamphlet of the Honor Squad to distribute out in the community. We're waiting on funding to be doing that. So there's a lot of things in any organization like this, because as I said, not a dime comes from the cemetery nor from the federal government. By law, they cannot do it. So that's what we need.
That is just awesome, Judge. This is awesome. Now, you yourself, I know, are not a veteran, but your family has a very distinguished service. Will you tell me about that a little bit?
Yes, I was sort of at that, maybe a year too young for the Vietnam conflict.
Right.
The draft was over, and it was a different time, as people realized back then. I had a family. I married young, and I went into what I call first line of defense here at home. I went into law enforcement. But my older brother had a very distinguished career in Vietnam. He received several awards, the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and the Silver Star for bravery. And when he got out, he went into the Ohio National Guard, and he died several years ago, but he was a full colonel in the Ohio National Guard. And what really got me interested in this was my brother, because when my brother came back from Vietnam, he had PTSD. No one knew what that was. No one called it that. In the years past, sometimes you would call it shell shock or something like that. Yeah. But there was times that I was called out to my brother's house because he was having difficulties and problems. And our father had predeceased and was dead, so I was his only brother, so I got to be called out there. And I still remember to this day going out there, is he going to hear my words? Am I going to be able to do something to him to calm him down? He he would be drinking, and he would be depressed and suffering from the PTSD. Now, luckily, my brother was strong enough that he didn't end up in the criminal justice system, but I could see very easily that he could have been one of those ended up in the criminal justice system, and he didn't. Also, my father was World War II a veteran. I remember when I was a young kid seeing my uncle, who served in World War II with my dad, receiving an award around his neck by President Eisenhower. So you know.
Really?
Yeah.
So you happen to have any pictures of that?
I do not. I would love to have it too.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it, but I don't have it. So I've always had a desire and a love for our military. I don't think there's any greater sacrifice that anyone can do for this country than serve in the military. And I tell people that even come in for my jury trials, I think jury service is one of the most important duties that someone has, right below serving in the military. So I think military is the most. So I want to do everything I can to support and help our military.
Judge, your brother's first name?
It's Ernie is what I call him. It's Ernest, but
Ernest?
he goes by Ernie.
Ernie.
Yeah.
And Ernie served in what?
Vietnam.
In the Army?
Yes, he was in the Army in 101st Airborne Division. Is
Right
what,
on,
he was
101st Airborne Division. Y'all hear that?
Yeah.
I'm from 101st Airborne. And your dad, he served in World War II. What service?
He was in the Army as well. He was in the infantry in the Army. He served in the Pacific conflict in the Philippines and some of those battles, Luzon and so forth over there. That's where he served.
Well, Dennis, that is very, very, very special. And again, you never stopped serving, through Ernie and through his spirit. We certainly appreciate that. We appreciate you being on the show too. Thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We'll see you next week. We might be mobile. I've got some people I want to interview, but they're kind of trapped in a home. So we're going to go out and see them. More to follow on that. Thank you all very much.
March 10th of 2002, I entered the United States Marine Corps. The day I stepped off the plane in Afghanistan, people were carrying AKs down the middle of a main street. It was a radically different world. Once I had realized that not only my purpose for serving, but kind of the purpose of my life changed at that point. It was very hard to reintegrate into the society that I had left. I had done things that many people would never dream of ever having to do. I was really angry. The sleeplessness, the nightmares, it crippled me. I became addicted to opiates and later heroin. However, they became much more of a problem than I had even started out with. There was a point in my drug use where I didn't care if I lived or died. My mother had finally gotten to the point where I came home and she met me halfway down the driveway and said that we are always going to love you, but don't come back. I lived like that for about 2 years until I was arrested and came in front of a judge in Veterans Treatment Court. That day was the last day that I used drugs or committed a crime.
Veterans Treatment Court is a specialty court here in Montgomery County designed just for our servicemen and women who have become involved in the criminal justice system.
Thank you for your service to the country, sir. I appreciate that.
So what we do is we bring a veteran into this court and they're here with other veterans. There's no one in this program who is not a vet, and they're here to help and encourage each other throughout this program. These are unique individuals. They understand the military system. It's ingrained upon them the words of accountability and honor, and we promote that in Veterans Treatment Court. I make every one of these veterans accountable for their actions. We praise them when they do well, but they are also, they suffer the consequences when they do not do what they're supposed to do.
My story is not unique. There's a lot of places in the United States that don't have this opportunity right now. And so a veteran that doesn't have this opportunity doesn't have a future.
This is a much more intensive program than regular probation. We are constantly monitoring their progress, and also the veterans that are in the program are here not only for themselves, but to help other veterans.
Veterans Treatment Court it says it in its title, treatment. The program is about helping that veteran, giving them the treatment they need that they may not have been given, so that they can get back into becoming productive citizens.
I know what PTSD can do within a family. It not only affects the serviceman, but it affects his family, his loved ones, and I saw firsthand the damages that could cause and how someone could easily end up in the criminal justice system.
I didn't have this court when I was in my troubled days, but there was a judge that saw something in me that I couldn't see, and that's what this court is all about. This court is about a new start.
The service lifestyle is a lot different than the civilian lifestyle, and a lot of them can't make that transition.
We have a unique mentoring program.
When they have a mentor, and the mentor expressed to them, you can always call me, no matter what time of day, what time of night, call me, text me, or whatever. That gives the veteran a person to talk to.
For me, I try to put them in a situation where they could say, this is what I need. I don't force it, but through the conversations, through you could trust me, through I'm a veteran, we all are here together. I'm no better than you. I've been where you at, if not worse. There is a way out.
A lot of times they need help when they don't know they need help, and you have to listen very carefully. Well, I think it's very, very rewarding for me anyway.
The person I worked with, it helped her to feel like, well, I am achieving something for myself. And it just changed her. Just to see the look on her face when she graduated was really a plus for me.
I remember one of the speakers that came to the graduation, he talks about Moses, what do you have in your hand? You may think you have nothing, but we as veterans have something to offer. It may not be much, but it's something.
And we're asking for mentors to become involved. Someone who understands what it's like to go to war and try to come back and fit into society.
I try to take it back to the military experience of being a buddy. If you have a problem, if you need to talk to somebody, I try to always be available for them.
I told my mentee that the difference between me and you is not that much. We just made different choices.
Any current service member or any honorably discharged service member can become a mentor. The only other requirement is that you have the compassion, you have the time and the commitment to be a mentor to our veterans.
A veteran have a chance to be around veterans, to be in a veterans court, and have compassion that would not ordinarily be given, that he's going to get here in the veterans court.
We're all military, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and where there's a veteran in need, we're going to be there for them.
No veteran should be left behind.
Who knows best to help a veteran but a veteran?
All the veterans are worth it.
Thank God for this court.